Hey guys, this is Miss Jacobson. Today we're going to talk about writing a summary for fiction. Our lesson goal is students will be able to write summaries of fictional texts, and students will be able to select correct star-formatted summaries of their reading. So, as a reminder, what is a summary? A summary tells the most important parts of the text in the reader's own words. A summary should include the most important information from the beginning, middle, and end of the story. A summary is something that uses your own words. It focuses on the important parts, but it doesn't use a lot of specific detail. It can't include any opinion. Again, it has only the most important ideas, and it's going to focus mainly on the main character. So, how do you write a summary? What's our strategy? How do we know what to include? If you remember back to when we first read The Sweetest Fig, our strategy is called Somebody Wanted, But So Then. Somebody is the main character, wanted, what did they want? But then what happened that stopped them from getting what they wanted? So what did they do next? Then how did the story end? It's really simple when you put it that way, but we have to make sure that we're picking the right events and details. So I'm going to play this short Cinderella video. Again, this is going to be very short. After we've watched the Cinderella video, we're going to look at an example summary for Cinderella.
Cinderella. Long ago, there lived a sweet girl named Ella. She lived with her mean stepmother and her two proud stepsisters. They made her do all the housework. She was always covered in dust, and so she was called Cinderella. One day, the prince invited all the girls in the kingdom for a ball in the castle. Everyone, including the two stepsisters, was very excited. Cinderella, too, wanted to go to the ball, but her sisters asked her to stay at home and work. Cinderella was so disappointed that she began to cry. Suddenly, she saw a shimmering light in the room. A woman with a kind smile stood in front of her. She was Cinderella's fairy godmother. She wanted to help Cinderella go to the ball. With a wave of her hand, she created a grand carriage and made Cinderella look like a princess. The fairy godmother warned her to be home before 12 o'clock, for then the spell will be broken. Cinderella was the prettiest girl at the ball. Her stepsisters didn't even recognize her. All the other girls were very jealous because the prince danced with her the whole night. However, the moment the clock struck 12, she remembered the fairy godmother's words and ran away. In her hurry, she left one glass slipper on the castle steps. The prince had fallen in love with her and wanted to find her and marry her. He asked his men to go to every house in the land and find the girl whose foot fits into the glass slipper. The king's men reached Cinderella's house. The two stepsisters tried hard to get their big feet to fit into the slippers, but in vain. Finally, when Cinderella tried the slipper, her foot fit perfectly into the glass slipper. The prince and Cinderella were soon married in a grand ceremony. The wicked stepsisters never bothered her again.
Okay. So, who is our someone? Who is the main character in this story? Obviously, it's Cinderella. Wanted is what did the main character want? So, what did Cinderella want? Cinderella wanted to go to the ball. But what was the problem? Why couldn't she go to the ball? But her stepfamily wouldn't let her. So, how did the main character try to solve that problem? So, her fairy godmother showed up and used magic to give her a costume so she could go to the ball. Then, what was the resolution to the problem? Then she met the prince, he found her after the ball, and they lived happily ever after. Altogether, our summary says, Cinderella wanted to go to the ball, but her stepfamily wouldn't let her. So her fairy godmother showed up and used magic to give her a dress, shoes, and a carriage so she could go to the ball. Then she met the prince. he found her after the ball, and they lived happily ever after. Okay, so again, Cinderella wanted to go to the ball, but her stepfamily wouldn't let her. So her fairy godmother showed up and used magic to give her a costume and a carriage so she could go to the ball. When she met the prince, he found her after the ball, and they lived happily ever after. You can see how each step of Somebody Wanted But So Then becomes our summary paragraph. But on Star, you're not going to be writing a summary. You're going to have to answer a summary question. So, what's the best summary of the story? What you need to look for. Does it include the beginning, the middle, and the end? Does it match what you wrote for your Somebody Wanted But So Then? Are there any details that we don't need in that summary? A says, Cinderella lives with her wicked stepsisters and stepmother. They're often cruel to her and force her to do all their chores. Then an invitation to the ball comes, so Cinderella wants to go. But her stepsisters tell her to stay home and clean. Well, that stops in the beginning of the story. Where's the middle and the end? She didn't even make it to the ball. A can't be our right answer. B says, Cinderella is unhappy. She's very upset about not going to the ball when she sees a magic light. The light is her fairy godmother, who helps her by giving her a dress, shoes, and a carriage. Cinderella goes to the ball, and no one recognizes her. She dances with the prince. Well, that answer choice is just the middle. There's no beginning, because we don't learn anything about her living with her stepfamily. And there's no ending. We don't know what happens after she dances with the prince. C says Cinderella lives with her cruel stepfamily, who forbid her from going to the prince's ball. When they leave to go to the ball, Cinderella's fairy godmother appears and uses magic to create a costume and a carriage for Cinderella. Cinderella dances with the prince, and he finds and marries her after the ball. Okay, so we've got a beginning. She lives with her stepfamily, and they won't let her go to the ball. We got a middle. The fairy godmother appears and fixes her problems, so she goes to dance with the prince. And we've got an ending. He finds and marries her. That matches pretty much what we said for Somebody Wanted But So. So C is probably our correct answer, but we still have to check D. Cinderella's fairy godmother helps her disguise herself so she can go to the ball. None of her stepfamily recognize her, and she gets to dance with the prince. At the stroke of midnight, she must leave, but she forgets her shoe. The prince sends people to look for her, and they get married. That looks really close. A lot of those details are written well, and it looks like C. But if you notice, it doesn't mention the beginning. So our best answer is going to be C. So your independent assignment today. There's a story called The Pied Piper of Hamelin in your OneNote. You need to read all of The Pied Piper and then write your own Somebody Wanted But So Then summary.